Well, good afternoon, Victoria Taft, your adult in the room. How are you? We're getting ready to, launch this huge Christmas holiday season. And there are a lot of things that we need to talk about, some things that are pretty dark today. We will talk with a guy who's an expert on the Chat GPT version of Jesus, the AI version. He's a pastor. He's coming later on the hour. And we'll talk about how dangerous that can be, not maybe for the reasons you think. Also, Tyler Robinson is in court today, and we're still awaiting a judge's decision on whether or not there will be cameras in the courtroom and or people allowed to see the proceedings. Well, and, some sort of basic rules of the road for this trial, which is not even ready to begin starting. But nevertheless, that's what's going on in Provo, Utah today. A couple of thoughts about that. Of course, it's a death penalty case. And the judge has already made one decision. The decision that the judge has already made is that Tyler Robinson is not to be photographed wearing his shackles. Shackles. He gets, as a matter of fact, better treatment than any of the J6ers out there. Isn't that interesting? Or even one of the president's persons who helped him in the White House, arrested at an airport. We've had him on. And he was shackled in front of God and everybody. But not so Tyler Robinson. Very interesting. He doesn't want to taint the jury pool. That is a good thought. And I understand that. And I believe that I am persuaded that the best thing to do, because there's all sorts of other atmosphere going on right now between Candace Owens and Erica Kirk. And we were going to deep dive into that because this is just ridiculous. I mean, it's getting to absurd proportions. So we don't want to taint the jury pool, but neither do you want to have a jury that goes home every night and can consume themselves and bathe in social media. And I believe personally that the jury in this case, whenever they're selected, whenever the trial begins, the jury should be sequestered. And the reason I say that is for obvious reasons. We saw the case of Derek Chauvin, for example, in Minneapolis, in which the jurors came into the courthouse every single day, going past people who the previous night had been rioting in the streets. And there they were chanting at the jurors. Jurors were doxxed. Jurors were approached. Jurors went home and read whatever they doggone well pleased, because even though the judge said, oh, please do not consume the news, there was no way to get away from it when you are surrounded by screamers outside the courtroom. Okay? So these people in Provo, Utah, for the Charlie Kirk assassins case need to be sequestered. They do. I don't know. Did you by any chance watch that 50 Cent show on P. Diddy? I mean, if you are a victim of any sort, you will not want to watch that. Okay, so that's not a good move for you. However, I finally finished it last night. It's only 4 episodes. I know I finally finished it, but I had started it 2 nights ago, and I thought, well, I'm all about the Biggie and the Tupac stuff, so I thought, well, I'll watch it. But here's the thing. Here's the one thing, a big takeaway for me, is when they talk about the trial for Diddy, one of the trials, the biggest trial, the latest trial for which he was found guilty of, trafficking prostitutes and sent away for 50 months in a federal lockup. The people that he had an entire team of people who were on the payroll, who were bloggers and who were the people who got on social media, influencers, you name it. They were out there talking about what they'd seen in the courtroom when they hadn't been in the courtroom, but they got the information from Diddy's team. And they went away and parroted all of their talking points. It was genius, actually. It's really genius. But that jury was not sequestered. And you know who ran that? I think that was the Jim Comey's daughter who was running that for the SDNY. So there you go. That was a federal case because it was across state lines. It was all over the United States. It was a Mann Act situation in which they barely ever. And that Hunter Biden was guilty of a Mann Act when he kept flying prostitutes in and out of wherever he was for hundreds of thousands of dollars and, all kinds of blow and going to the homeless camp to get his drugs, whatever. I digress. So there's that. So it's the Derek Chauvin and then the P. Diddy case. And then see what other case was I thinking about? Well, that's enough. I mean, you need to be sequestered in this case. And I'll tell you why you need to have the jury sequestered in this case. First of all, you don't want to taint them further. Right now, there's a huge information war. It's so dark and damning. It is frightening. There's a huge information war going on in the public square, the court, if you will, of public opinion. And there are influencers. I don't know who's getting paid for what. I know that it's like a rap fight, where they do the what do they call them? It's a rap fight. Okay. It's like East Coast, West Coast, they do the diss tracks and all that jazz. And it's just kind of annoying and stupid and sophomoric. And yet, people end up dead, as Biggie and Tupac can attest. And so really interesting Netflix special. So, woo! So, but that was the one lesson I got out of it, besides the fact that, of course, it's meant to arrive at the conclusion that Diddy murdered or had Biggie Smalls killed. So that was the point. That's 50 Cent is not a guy to be trifled with. And he waited and he got all this is an interesting sort of side note, just FYI. He got all of the video, I learn, from the camera crew and the production team that Diddy hired but never paid. So 50 Cent came in and got the information. And there's all kinds of inside stuff there. So plenty. It was really, actually a very well done documentary. And some of those things that they call documentaries on Netflix, come on, man. Some of them aren't very documentary like. Okay, be that as it may. So we've got the Tyler Robinson case in court. Don't know if they're back in the courtroom. I'll find out. I've kind of got a notification thing on it. And Alex, calling an audible to you if you see anything and they're back in court and the judge is doing something, maybe we can dip into it. So then there's the stories and the insults and the shocking revelations about Candace Owens from people in conservative and independent spaces in politics, from Ben Shapiro, who thinks that Candace has lost the plot, and all sorts of people. Dave Rubin, I heard him talking about it today. Megyn Kelly, who refuses to say, hey, Candace, will you knock it off? This is very corrosive. And you'll hear what she's talking about. Okay. And then we've got, Megyn Kelly, Tim Pool. Candace Owens picked a fight with Tim Pool. What? Because, and then she says he had failed to her satisfaction, prove that anyone had shot up his property the other night. I mean, this is just absurd. Hello, Sal Chicola. Hello, all sorts of you. Do you guard Crips? You're funny. And Lenana writes down, hey, thank you, Victoria. Okay. So you're very funny, fellas. I know everybody always talks about the girls' looks, and that's fine, or their age or whatever. And just all it does is just completely blow up whatever point you think you might want to make. So anyway, all of this is going on. Lots of atmosphere on the issue of the back and forth. Now, Candace Owens is actually accusing people of murdering Charlie Kirk, or hoping that I'm just asking questions and leading to the assumption that somebody killed, in Turning Point USA, Charlie Kirk. And that she's actually explicitly said that Tyler Robinson did not do it. And you'll hear that. You'll see it for yourself. But there's a lot of hatred going on. There's a lot of distracking, if you will, between all these really big league people in the podcast sphere and media sphere. Not like, look, I'm nobody, okay? I'm nobody speaking, comparatively anyway, and I'm speaking out about this. But you know what? I've been in news and radio. I love radio, TV, talk shows. I've been a talk host for as long as I've been in radio, almost as long as I've been in radio. And I've been writing for publications for decades, magazine, online magazines, etc. And I'm not that social media influence smart guy that so many people see, but I'll tell you what, I am the adult in the room, and that's all I have, a voice. And I think we need to call an end to this this diss track fest between all of these conservative leaders. And I don't even include Tim Pool in that. He's more of an independent. But nevertheless, I know Candace Owens is a juggernaut. She's a juggernaut. And to the extent that I paid attention previously to her at all, I was of the opinion that some of her stances were freaking nutty. Okay? Nuts. And so I finally got to the point where I wrote about it the other day. I actually wrote about it when I heard the Erica Kirk talk about the case and how Candace Owens is calling her friends and her family co-conspirators in a murder. She's had it. So here's what she said. And the reason it's, I finally wrote about it. I haven't been following. Like I say, I know who Candace Owens is. I know I used to see her on Tucker Carlson. I know that she's beautiful and she's very erudite. I know that she has a huge following on social media. I know that she thinks that the president of France's wife is a man. I know she thinks that Tim Pool is lying. I know that she thinks Israel had something to do with Charlie Kirk's murder. She's been doing all that. And it's easy to write her off as much as it is easy to write off Nick Fuentes. If you doubt me, go look at Ben Shapiro's rebuttal of the interview that Tucker Carlson did, and it will perhaps put things in perspective for you. But I cannot ignore Candace Owens anymore. She's accusing them of murder. And you can't do that without evidence. Oh, she's got sources. She says she's got sources. Well, anyway, Erica Kirk says, well, I've got sources too, and it's my life, and here we go.
Come after me, call me names, I don't care. Call me what you want, go down that rabbit hole, whatever. But when you go after my family, my Turning Point USA family, my Charlie Kirk Show family, when you go after the people that I love, and you're making hundreds and thousands of dollars every single episode going after the people that I love because somehow they're in on this, no.
You know, I have to say it. I've never seen you like this.
No, this is righteous anger because this is not okay. It's not healthy. This is a mind virus. Yes, I believe in our judicial system. I do. We have a hell of a team working on this. Excuse my French. But this is not okay.
So you want to put these people back in the box where they've been creeping from?
I don't care what box you're in. But just know that your words are very powerful and we are human. My team are not machines and they're not robots. They are human. We have more death threats on our team and our side than I have ever seen. I have kidnapping threats. You name it, we have it. And my poor team is exhausted. And every time they bring this back up, what are we supposed to do? Relive that trauma all over again? They watched my husband get murdered. I have no idea how I would have reacted if I was there that day. And thank the good Lord that I did not have to see that happen. But my team, they are rocked to the core.
Okay, so she came back. That's the first time I've ever seen any emotion besides crying, obviously, in public, which she's been doing. She's highly scripted. And of course, she wants to make sure she says the right thing after the worst thing that's ever happened in her entire life and in the life of the organizations that she is affiliated with. It is a horrible thing. There's a future president, I believe, who was taken out on purpose because he was so incredibly powerful. In 2024, Charlie Kirk was instrumental in turning out young men, especially to vote for President Trump and to get at Trump and the future turnouts for Republicans. They took out the guy who was the best tool they had to get the vote out. That's why that happened. That's why Tyler Robinson and they think he did it on his own. Okay, fine. All right, so here is response by Candace Owens. And meanwhile, the backgrounder of this is that Candace Owens was going to come on Turning Point on Charlie's show, his radio show, which is carried on the Salem radio stations, of which I'm a part. And so, anyway, that's apropos of nothing, but hey, whatever. I just want you to know that for full disclosure. So, she says she's going to come on while they discuss that. And then all of a sudden she pulls out because, oh my goodness, it's at the time that I do my live stream. So therefore I can't do it. And so Turning Point said, oh yeah, okay, great. Well, we kind of figured you'd do that. Okay, fine. Okay. So they said that. Now here's Candace Owens coming back and saying, okay.
Fam, that is my, don't you get me upset. I know that this is a now $150 million in the last 3-month organization, and we employ tons of people, but you can't critique the fam. And I hate to say this, but I'm going to be very clear here. This is why there are many people who do not believe that women are equipped to lead companies, because what you are watching here is an unbelievably emotional response that is absent of any logic. Okay. If you really care about your team, answer the questions. Okay.
Questions.
Just demystify the entire event. Come out, sit down, answer the questions so people don't think Turning Point USA looks so suspicious. Don't try to mom the organization and say, well, mother's upset because people are coming after her kids and all of this multi-million dollar subsidy.
Okay. If you don't know what she's said previously, maybe some of you do watch her. I do not, because I just don't. I just not in the habit of doing that. But from the Daily Caller, Owens alleged that Kirk's chief of staff, Michael McCoy, knew Kirk was going to be murdered that day because footage shows that he was on a phone call before the shots went off. Oh, he's the guy that they said, oh, he's on the phone call. Here's the shots, tipping off the murderer. Let's do that. She also accused him of using a false name and suggested that his wife had helped plan the campus tour event where Kirk died. Then she also alleged that Kirk's assassination was an inside job, and she accused TPUSA of financial impropriety, which she's never followed up and provided proof of. And she says that the murder of Charlie Kirk, this political assassination, what this is involved French paratroopers and the Egyptian military. She's also said that the French paratroopers and or French spooks of some sort were out to get her because, of course, she's called Brigitte Macron a man. Okay. And she's had so much fun. She's just made scores of dollars on this. I mean, which is to say times a million. She's made a lot of money on doing this kind of thing. And, right on. I don't begrudge her making money. Good God, I wish I'd to do that as well. But now we're into crazy territory where we have, okay, here's Candace. She's saying that because Erica Kirk told her to knock this crap off, and she said previously that she'd come on their show and talk about it live, and she's not, that, well, you need to still answer my questions. What kinds of questions are these?
Subsidiaries. That's my children. Okay. The multi-million-dollar subsidiaries, Turning Point, like Turning Point Action, all that. Those are my kids. So you can't critique them.
I mean, I appreciate this.
Not a good idea. Okay. It may work in PR world. You guys, I know how it's an obvious PR campaign. It's never been more obvious of a psychological operation. I actually wish they would put me on payroll so I could help them make these things look more organic than having every single person that has been telling us to stop asking questions all make the exact same video within 4 seconds of each other.
But she doesn't just ask questions. She asks questions and wants you to believe that what the underlying, it looks awfully, I'm just going to ask a few questions on whether or not they have actually murdered Charlie Kirk. Why would they do that? Why would they do that? Oh, it was an Israeli hit. Oh, yeah, that's also something Candace Owens says. And it's getting pretty ridiculous. And it gets to the point where you kind of wonder, and some people are wondering, if she has been trotted out or she feels impelled by something that she should taint the jury pool and or cause doubt in the minds of future jury members, which is why all of this has come to the fore right now. It's all happening right now. Okay, great. This is just great. Now then, okay, so then I'm doom scrolling after I finish up with the ditty. documentary on P Diddy, and 50 Cent did it. And then I go, okay, I see this notification. And the notification is, pastor responds to Candace Owens. And I thought, wait a minute, what's a pastor responding to Candace Owens for? And then I found out, here we go. We have for you the pastor of Calvary Chapel of Chino Valley, not Chino Hills. I follow the Chino Hills guy, but Chino Valley. And she has alluded, and no, indeed explicitly stated, that the Calvary Chapel organization is a CIA front.
Correct some things that I did recently here. And apparently, Candace, for example, believes that we, Calvary Chapel, are somehow part of a CIA covert operation.
You start to ask yourself, what is guiding the Calvary Chapel, right? What is behind this? Do you really think this is all just accidental? Their obsession with Christian Zionism, the history, the CIA implications of who exactly started the Calvary Chapel, which kind of became the offshoot of the hippies movement. Chuck Smith is his name, CIA character that was close to him. The implications here, when you look at all of the military characters that are involved, really have me asking a lot of questions.
I'll first address that briefly. Pastor Chuck was my pastor. He most certainly was not some government-sponsored official trying to turn all Calvary Chapels into some military organization. It is so ridiculous. I can't remember all. What we did is we entered, and we have done, we entered into the scriptures and grew to love the nation of Israel and Jewish people. We don't support every single thing they do. And no, we don't see national Israel as a prophetic fulfillment of all that will occur in the future. Yet we just see it as being formed and moved in that direction. And
this is what she's alleged, that they are all only an Israeli front. Now, I've lived in Orange County, and I know a lot of people who used to go to that church, and they've gone on to Calvary Chapel in Chino Hills, and they've gone to Mariners, they've gone to other church, huge mega church community. Okay, and Chuck Smith died. And I never heard, and there were lots of smart people going to that church. Attorneys, I knew 2 attorneys who went there, and Christians attorneys. And you're not going to believe this, but I never heard that it was a CIA front. Never, in all the years I've known them, never heard it was a CIA front until Candace Owens came along. And Candace Owens said, well, that must be because they like Israel. There's a reason that the church likes Israel. The church is because Jesus is from Israel. He is from Israel, and we're hoping that the Israelis come to their senses and say that, hey, that he's the guy. They haven't done that yet. It's been hundreds, thousands of years, and he's the guy. Anyway, so here we go. In this Pastor Rosales, I think that's the way you pronounce it. If I'm wrong, I apologize. Here he is talking about, come on, man.
That God still works with the people. There's nothing wrong with believing that. There's a biblical way to look at things. You know that the Lord is not through with it. All you got to do is look at Romans 9, 10, and 11. You'll see it's very clear. God has not forsaken those whom he had called. The gifts and callings of God are without revocation. God is going to do and continue to do a work in Israel. And no, we don't believe in the replacement theological stance that the church takes the place of blessings of Israel. We believe that God continues to work with Israel. He's got a plan for Israel, and ultimately those whom he calls and all of that, they're going to come to faith in their Messiah. So for this to be some kind of conspiracy thing that Calvary Chapels have been driven to a particular position of being Zionists or whatever, that I see that as ludicrous. I see.
Okay, he goes on, but basically, come on, man, this is ridiculous. What the hell are you doing? Oh, he didn't actually say that. I just said it. Okay. So then we have Candace going on CNN talking about how Tyler Robinson, who's in court today, did not kill Charlie Kirk. Now, she says that explicitly. I'm going to let her explain it. Watch this.
When you say you believe that Charlie Kirk was betrayed by someone close to him, what do you mean?
I think that in the coming weeks, there's going to be a lot of financial reports that are coming out. And I, first and foremost, do not believe that Tyler Robinson killed Charlie Kirk. I want to be very clear on that. Whether he was involved, I think the answer is yes. I think that's obvious.
And your basis for saying he didn't act alone is what?
I don't know, maybe the weird Fed messages that were concocted out of thin air that had no timestamp and were written like they were speaking in 1822, among other things. Their lack of an ability to answer any basic questions about what took place.
But do you have any proof that the messages were made up? Because that would be easily proven.
Yeah, but they didn't put timestamps on them, and Discord came out and said they didn't exist.
This was supposedly text messages, not Discord messages. It's my understanding from the indictment.
I actually did not read that they were text messages.
The indictment calls them text messages.
What would it be like the feds are like on a computer, typing it out back and forth?
That's exactly what it is. The feds made up the text messages.
But you don't have anyone from like the FBI telling you that, or law enforcement?
I have leaks.
Okay.
No.
Has anyone leaked to you?
And Tyler Robinson has.
But has anyone said to you, even off the record, yeah, we faked these?
I have very strong sources everywhere on both sides.
Well, I look forward to seeing the evidence of that.
Sure.
Okay, then she goes on about the media, which I don't blame her because the media suck. But there we have it. So that is what the latest diss track is between Erica Kirk, who's replied once, and Candace Owens, which comes out every single live stream that she has, which is multiple times a week, talking about how Charlie Kirk was murdered by the insiders at Turning Point USA. And, it gets to the point where you go, okay, why is she doing that? Signal and the noise. Remember, we talked about that, Mr. Wonderful on Shark Tank, talking about the signal and the noise and how we really do need to be better media consumers, and so that we can find out what's going on. And, she talks about information operations. This is one of them, right? Oh, this is interesting. Okay. I don't know some interesting handles coming in on, I don't know, I'm assuming that this is on YouTube. What are your thoughts on the current Trump administration? I love it so far. I think some of it looks bad, only because I think it looks bad when you arrest people for doing wrong things. And people are used to the fact that people don't get arrested for doing wrong things. They're just let go. And so when they are arrested for doing wrong things, and it looks really shocking on television, I think it's going to be terrific when the 2026 comes around and the economy picks up again. I'm just going off the side of, top of my head and, and just a sidelight here because you asked the question. You asked the question. And I'm looking forward to that. And I think that it's going to take a hell of a lot longer to extinguish Joe Biden's 20% inflation rate, which has been held over like a dark shadow over this country. And I also think that it's really bad that there will be people who will go to the ends of the earth to try to undermine this country, this president, and who's trying to help America. And why are those people doing that? Well, that's a very good question. You should probably ask who's paying them and or what do they get out of it? I think those that are the really quo bono, those are the kind of questions you probably want. And so I think that, I like Trump. He is going to be, and nobody believes me and maybe necessarily my family, but I think he's going to be the most consequential president of my lifetime. And I didn't like Ronald Reagan initially. And then I kind of went, that guy, that was pretty awesome. Pretty awesome president. I think Trump completely blows Ronald Reagan out of the water in terms of getting stuff done. And so that's what I'm all about. I really enjoy him a lot. I think sometimes he needs to shut up for a minute, but other than that, it's pretty good. I mean, calling Ilhan Omar a turban, probably not a good idea. I mean, why go there? You don't have to go in the gutter like that. Just knock that stuff off. Okay, so we got this going on, this terrible plot, if you will, this terrible dichotomy between the two Charlie Kirk sides, with his former colleague, Candace Owens, coming out and saying, oh, it was an inside job without providing any proof. If she's got all these great leaks that she claims to have, then why doesn't she put up some of the information from them? I am all about her ability and her freedom to ask questions. Occasionally somebody'd like an answer instead of just going, well, they haven't answered my questions. Will you keep moving the doggone goal line, lady? And let's just get this stuff done. How about you're the one making the accusations? Get on it. Chop. Get some stuff out there. Do I see gold prices? Gold has been rocketing. No, I don't actually. Next year, after all this economy starts going into the Trump economy goes full tilt, the tariffs go in and we start seeing even more money coming in the country, and it will probably undermine the value of gold. So I guess that would probably be my response. My dad back in the day was a gold bug. If he'd had money, he would have had a lot of gold by now. So anyway, yeah. So thanks for asking. That was really kind of you to ask me some questions that, I don't know, maybe those are your questions that you ask people, find out if they know what the hell they're talking about. But so I hope I acquitted myself well. All right. So we've got the idea of what's going on in this rap battle and these diss tracks between the two sides, and it is ugly. Why? What is the signal? The signal from this story is that whoever is behind Candace Owens, or if this is just from her come from, if you will, that she wants to sow division. Does she really want answers? Because the guy who was arrested right away hasn't even appeared in court except today. Let's just look at a little of that today. We saw him for the first time, and then they took a recess to have some arguments, and then the judge was going to make some decisions, and his family couldn't be there, for example. It was sort of calling some balls and strikes and also figuring out what the ground rules are going to be. This is sort of the way it looked. Tyler Robinson was said to have smirked and such in court. And I know that people, do we know what he really looked like before that? No, we don't. Is that a smirk? Is that a smile? Is it just being nervous? Is he concerned? The dude's going to be put to death potentially if he's found guilty of this. And so this is the years-long process, baby. Let's watch.
Are zip tied, so all types of measures being taken to make sure that this proceeding happens safely and securely today. Now, on the docket today, perhaps one of the most important issues, there was an October 24th hearing in which Judge Graff determined Robinson will be allowed to wear civilian clothing in court, as you see on your screen right now, but he has to remain shackled. Now, also in that October 24th hearing, general security measures and other issues of fairness in this trial were discussed in a closed portion being delivered to this courthouse. Some of the doors are zip tied, so all types of measures being taken to make sure that this proceeding happens safely and securely today. Now, on the docket today, perhaps one of the most important issues, there was an October 24th hearing in which Judge Graff determined Robinson will be allowed to wear civilian clothing in court, as you see on your screen right now, but he has to remain shackled. Now, also in that October 24th hearing, general security measures and other issues of fairness in this trial were discussed in a closed portion being delivered to this courthouse. Some of the doors are zip tied, so all types of measures being taken to make.
The doors are zip tied. The guy is too. He's got shackles on, but the cameras in the courtroom, should they continue to be in the courtroom, if they are allowed during the trial, they will not be able to take pictures of Tyler Robinson, his shackles. They'll probably have to take pictures after he arrives. So that's really interesting. That's almost going over, bending over backwards to be fair to a guy, to not make him look guilty. And I understand the prosecution always has the advantage. Trust me when I tell you, I understand that. And sometimes I think they're really disreputable prosecutors out there who will do anything to win. And I've seen that. I watched all the Trump ones. It was just, as much as I could. Certainly the New York City one and both of the New York ones where he was said that to have, his payoffs to the hooker or, whatever her name is, the stripper, were, these were bookkeeping errors. And so he should go to prison for that for 99 years. It's like, who are you people? This is a joke. Is anyone serious about the law in this place? I mean, these people, it was just a travesty, an absolute travesty of a trial. So we want to make sure, and nobody ever gave Trump the benefit of the doubt. Now you got a killer of Trump's friend, and we couldn't possibly show his shackles. All I'm saying is it may redound the best ever to the fairness of the trial. I hope so. Wouldn't that be nice? That would be a switch. Maybe Utah does it differently than New York. But I would just tell you that you got to watch decisions like that. Okay. You've got to watch decisions like that. Okay. Let's see. Candace. Yeah. Let's see. Who's this? Almeyer says his candidate's making any money off this? I don't know. I don't know what that means. Oh, Candace. Oh, I got it. Okay, gotcha. That's what he meant. Oh, of course, she's making millions on this. She's making, as Erica Kirk said, she's making hundreds of thousands of dollars an episode. Hey, Alex, what if we made hundreds of thousands of dollars on an episode? I mean, that would be crazy, right?
I'd love that.
I know, right? Wouldn't we love that? It's just amazing. But she makes bank, man. She's got lots of sponsors, really good sponsors, and so she's good to go. And so good for her. Woman power, whatever. Okay, I wanted to tell you also about what happened today in court in Maryland. And I was going to go to a different story. I was going to go to the Antifa story, but I'll do this. Jeez. This is actually pretty funny. And I say it's funny because the Kilmar Abrego Garcia case happened in Maryland, and a judge there, remember that guy? He was the MS-13 gangster and a human trafficker. Remember that dude? Beat up his wife? Yeah. So he was SA guy, as apparently we still can't say that on YouTube, so whatever. He was a bad dude. So the judge in this case, let's make it the simplest we can, said, I know. He has to be released right away. The judge in this case did. She's a lower court judge, and for whatever reason, they call them inferior judges. No hate, just that's what they call them in the federal court system. And so she makes this decision, and she decides that Kilmar Abrego Garcia, here he is, Saint Kilmar, the human trafficker, he was not given two things. There was no paperwork and an official order in his file that said he could be removed, or an order of deportation. There were other things that were in his file that said, hey, the guy, he doesn't have any, he's everything that he has tried to get, asylum and all sorts of other things, didn't work because, you're not going to believe this, dude is bad. He's a bad dude. And so what they did was they go, well, okay, so he's a bad guy and he's not allowed to seek asylum in this country. And so because there wasn't an official deportation order in his file, which has been an ongoing thing, and people have been, why don't you just put a doggone order of deportation? You could certainly do that at this point. I'm sure there's a reason they can't, but it stands to reason. You sit back in the cheap seats like this and you go, what, hello, Pam Bondi, couldn't you? Yeah. So write the note, put in it his jacket. Okay. But, so that was the one thing. There wasn't any official document that said he's to be deported. Now, everything leading up to that, the fact that he didn't receive asylum, he didn't get any kind of nod in this country. Hey, come on in. The water's fine. There is the logical conclusion to all of this is that he should have been kicked out of the country. And so, Mr. MS-13, Mr. I beat my wife, girlfriend/wife. Then he's human trafficking and caught in the act, and we have video of it. Why didn't those cops just arrest him on the spot? What were they thinking in Tennessee? Ay, ay, ay. So all of those things put together, yeah, he could have been kicked out of the country. In fact, he was. He was put on that, the really hardcore prison in El Salvador. And he's from El Salvador, as a matter of fact, and he's a Salvadoran person, and he needs to get out of the country. Trump's not wrong about that. He's not wrong about that. You don't even have to lie about any of his stuff. Well, anyway, the other thing the judge in Maryland got caught up on today was, well, you know what? They wanted to send Kilmar Obrego Garcia they wanted to send him to places in Africa. They wanted to send him to be in Zoran Mamdani's home country of, where is he from? Where is he from? Why am I blanking on it? Oh, yeah. Oh, why am I blanking? Anyway, I'll get you. Anyway, so they had a big to-do, to and fro about that. Well, we wanted to send him to these, dude, I've never heard of some of these countries. I mean, I heard of two of them, and one of them that I can't remember. And then the other one I went, what is that? So the point being that, well, we don't want to send him there. The Costa Rica government was always willing to have him. Well, the Trump administration either did not want him to go to the Costa Rica country of Costa Rica, Central American country of Costa Rica, probably because he'd probably bust up and just come back up to be with his family. And the other reason is they didn't want him to go there. And the Trump administration represented in court that, hey, they don't want him. And the folks, the folks actually said, I don't know about that. So here we go. U.S. Immigration and Customs and Attorney General Pam Bondi, since Abrego Garcia's return from wrongful detention in El Salvador, is be re-detained. Again, without lawful authority. I don't know where you get that, how an inferior judge can determine whether or not that's unlawful, but that's the decision made today, and he must be removed from the country. Well, okay, because I'm sorry, did I say that? I meant that he has to be erase that. He has to be released from detention into our country. Right. I don't know. I don't know why I remind you of Barbra Streisand, probably because I have a big nose like she does. I mean, that's pretty much what it is. And I've been told that since I was in high school. So, usually the guys just sort of, they just sort of revert to something about your looks. Well, anyway, doesn't matter. Okay, so we've got that story. So he will be released, allegedly. There will be an appeal. But why do we have to keep going around and around and around? And why? What is the point of circling the wagons around a very, very bad actor? What's that about? I just find it very interesting that Democrats are more willing to go to bat for people who are illegally in the country than they are to go to bat for things like, for example, having people not delete my vote by voting over mine. Have as much passion for voter integrity and voter ID than a fake voter. Could you do that, please? Could you act like an American? Wouldn't that be nice? I'm getting to the point where I feel like these are the conversations I have at home sometimes. I can't believe this. I can't believe it. So that happened. Then we have another big case we've talked about before. And this is an important one, actually. It's a very important one. It is this case, and we will show you. Let's see. Make sure. There we go. And we are going to go move over there. We are going to go, sorry, we're just going to go to this CNN story. Say what you want. CNN does sometimes get it right. So I'm back to Kilmore Obrego Garcia. Dude, I don't want that one. I want this one. And let's share this tab. First Antifa terrorism case, 5 plead guilty in Alvarado, Texas ICE facility attack. Now, there have been multiple guilty admissions in this case. There were about, I think it was about 10 people rolled up by the feds in this case. And the latter two who went on one of them went on the lam. He was the shooter. Remember now, let's just go back in the Wayback Machine for just a second. And let's discuss what happened. And what happened was on July 4th, 2025, there was a big protest outside the ICE headquarters in Alvarado, Texas. And of course, this is a precursor to 2 other attacks at ICE facilities in Texas. And it also was a progenitor to all of the other ICE attacks and the ways in which they did their protests and all the other attendant things in the future. Portland adopted these things. And they always had in their minds what these ICE protesters did in Alvarado. What did they do? Well, they started trying to get officers as well as local police officers as well as federal officers to respond to attacks on the ICE facility, explosions and M80 stuff, where you have fireworks and you have other kinds of explosives to shock and awe the people at the ICE facility. And that was meant to draw out the feds. They wanted them to come out, and then they would shoot them. When a local police officer responded, he was shot in the neck, and I can't believe it, survived. So the shooting instructor, however, that would be, let's see, let me find his picture. I just pulled it up. Yeah, this dude, who was an instructor for an Antifa organization. And he's a former Marine. Actually, he's an ex-Marine. And he was a person with he wasn't with John Brown, but he was with the Socialist Gun Club. The Socialist Gun Club is very, very, very concerned about its reputation. They got me in trouble. Well, not really, but they talked to my editor for a story I did because that particular organization, the Gun Club, they were involved in something else, another attack, and they were very upset that I mentioned that and said, "Well, we've never been identified as being a part and parcel of that attack. It was a shooting of I think I want to say it was a Tesla bombing situation or Tesla shooting." And they said, "No, we were never involved in that." But they were involved with a lot of other things. For example, remember the guy from Maine? He wants to run for Senate. I think he's still in the run. I think he's still in the offing. He's like the top Democrat going for the Senate to depose the sitting senator there. Why am I blank? I'm just like blanking on my names today. Hold on, I have to have some more Go Juice, which is caffeine. And his thing was he was an instructor at one of those gun clubs, teaching Antifa, teaching Trantifa, teaching all of these people tactics, how to, making sure that you don't get caught, covering over your tracks, making sure that you have the right kind of stuff. You want to be, kitted out in the right stuff. And so he did that. And this dude did too. And this guy is, he was gone for 11 days. He was on the lam for 11 days. And people who helped him were charged with giving material support to a terrorist organization. And last week, they copped a plea. This guy and his buddies, one of these people, these the Trantifa dudes that had a house near the ICE facility. And there were a bunch of guys who think they're girls living in this. So you know that things may not be safe in your organization or your neighborhood or wherever these guys go because they don't know who they are, and they'll do anything to convince you that they are who you say or who they say they are. They're confused. So one of these guys, Autumn, was also charged with material support of terrorism. And that happened last week, I think it was, a week and a half ago. So that is another tell. This terrorism situation, this domestic terrorism with Antifa and the holdover from BLM or whatever, these people continue to do ICE attacks, who continue to try to draw out ICE agents. Why do you think that they get in the way of the driveway at the Portland ICE facility? They want the feds to come out, clear away the violators, the people who are breaking the law by standing in front and preventing federal officers from doing their jobs. And they're waiting for somebody to take a shot at them. That's what they're afraid of. It's really as simple as that. It's not very nice, actually, to do that to federal officers. It's a really bad idea. And so when they go, well, we were just dressing as Teletubbies. I don't understand why you're so upset about that. I mean, that's all we're doing. It's peaceful. We're not rioting. You know what you're doing? You're providing a distraction for another person who would do them harm to come in. That's what this is all about. Now, Portland ICE, they've sort of spec'd out another facility that they want to expand into. And I don't know what they're going to do with this downtown one, but let's hope it has more security at the whatever new one there is. And now the senator from New York, the third senator from New York, that would be Ron Wyden of ostensibly Oregon, although his family and all of his heart is in New York with his wife and his children, his second family. And so he came back to town to make sure everybody saw him on the news and to say, well, we don't want this here. How can you actually be a federal officer of some sort? You are a person who has taken an oath to uphold the Constitution and to uphold the law. And you say that it is unlawful, it is wrong to put it in another ICE institution. That's ridiculous. That is lame. It is lazy. It's wrong. So we've got these guys. Let me see one more thing. I want you to see one more thing that Andy No put up. This is recently. This is it was July when this whole thing in Texas started happening. Here in Give, Send, Go. This is how the left makes bank on these kinds of direct actions. Okay. So at the Alvarado facility in Texas, now we've got everybody, I think, has pled guilty. And you've got two people who are up on terrorism charges who last week just a few days ago, pled guilty. And what do? How do you think they make bank? What do you think they do to make rent? One of the things they do is they get bail money from Kamala Harris's organization and other organizations like that. The Lawyers Guild provide free lawyers for these people, these bad actors, the Soros-paid Lawyers Guild. And you have other entities that give them money. But also, in addition, they file lawsuits with their free lawyers, like is happening to our friend Honey Badger mom. She pepper sprayed an Antifa nutter in the face who was getting ready to hit her with a flagpole, which, by the way, were metal. And so Honey Badger mom's getting sued. So Honey Badger mom's going to have to countersue. I think she is, actually. And let's hope so. Let's hope that she is a winner in her case. But now what happens is these guys go to Give, Send, Go, and then they get money, free money. And I'd be like, why don't you do it on GoFundMe? Aren't you guys supposed to go on GoFundMe? They don't let any conservatives on GoFundMe. So like Give, Send, Go is the only place that allows conservatives to do any fundraising for legitimate purposes, not I need money because I'm in jail purposes. I need money because I need to buy some more caps. I need money because I need some more explosives. I need money to make my Molotov cocktails. I need money to make rent because I was in jail for so long and I didn't have a chance to pay my rent. That is not what we want them doing. But there you are. And that's what they did. So they have their own gun clubs. And they have their own ways of making bank. And they have their own ways of trying to distract federal officers. And this is, another situation where they try to goad people. Now, here's what I mean. Here's another thing that we're starting to see this. Just literally days after 2 National Guardsmen, 1 woman, 1 man, were killed. One was killed, one was hospitalized, and we think he might be sentient in the future. Let's hope. And we've got jackasses like this guy.
All right, guys, what's up? You guys understand the Constitution?
Trying to bait National Guards. This thing is full of F-bombs. Okay, so I apologize for that. But this is the kind of thing, and he just continues. Assume you know what he's saying. He's mocking them. You can see some of the words he says.
I'm sure you understand the Posse Comitatus Act.
And he said Posse Comitatus wrong. So apparently he knows everything. Have you heard of Captain Dillon and the other individual who apparently have now said that they've taken an oath and that the president is giving illegal orders to the National Guard? This is in D.C. This is right after these other officers were shot. And he's putting a target on these people. So this is a thing I thought, oh, this is interesting. Why in heaven's name is this guy doing this? I mean, who am I kidding? I know why he's doing it. Fine. Watch this. I looked at the guy's name. I looked at what he's doing. I looked at, oh yeah, okay. I know his identification. I thought, okay, well, he must do this a lot. Now he's starting to bait these people. They call it bird dogging, right? Now check this out. He continues for minutes to go after these guys and to bait them to get in their personal space. These guys are going along and doing their marching, if you will, not marching, but they're patrolling. Okay. They're patrolling to keep things safe. That's all they're doing. They're not doing anything with ICE. They're not working with the feds necessarily. They are federalized, and that's in DC. It's a federal property. So I thought, well, I wonder what this guy does when he's not doing this bird dogging of all the federal National Guardsmen under, in defiance of the, as he put it, Posse Comitatus Act. So I go to his TikTok account. Check this out. Can't be found. 6,000 followers. Can't be found. Why is that? Because he's scared, or he's just doing this temporarily, okay? This is a job. Be careful what you see. Discern the difference between the signal and the noise. This is another perfect example of that. Just moments over and over and over. Of course, I'm sure this went viral. It hit X. That's where I saw it. I'm not on TikTok yet. And it's important because that isn't part of an information operation if I've ever seen one. All right. Now, as we go into this Christmas season, it's kind of interesting. Some of us forget, why we celebrate Christmas. And I hope not, but there you go. And one of the things that I think is important is that you understand that even though we're such a secular society right now, we do get together and we do celebrate the birth of Christ. And that's why the entire Western world and the Eastern world as well know who Jesus is. But do you really know who Jesus is? Have you really read about Jesus? Now, I'm not telling you that you have to do that for purposes of this segment, but what I am telling you is that AI is changing the way we look at Jesus. And the reason it's so remarkable is because I know I'll be sitting there. I'll be in a Bible study. This happened a couple of weeks ago, and I use AI all the time. And you have to know something about AI. You better check it because there's a lot of misinformation in it right now. In fact, I imagine it probably will be that. And for example, there's one Perplexity. I use Perplexity a lot. Although after this last incident, I said, I think I'm just going to go to Grok. It's going to be fine. I trust Elon Musk more than I trust whoever's doing Perplexity, whatever. But it was like everything was wrong. I go and look at the sources and I go, no, look up this information without using Wikipedia as a source. Oh, well, Wikipedia is a bad source. Okay. That is just one problem. The other thing I think is Christians should be on AI and feeding the beast. Here's why, and not that beast, but the feeding AI the information that they need to feed. And the other thing is, check this out. I went and gathered up a few of the Bibles we have in our house. Here's my husband's house. My husband's old Bible, the open Bible. He does a study Bible now, whatever. Keep it. Keep it. Because, well, I'll have our guest tell you why. You're going to need it to refer to. All right? And because things are getting a little scary out there. When you've got people who don't believe, writing stories and or information about things of the church, information that is important, and they don't believe it, no. You need people who know what they're talking about. Dave Scarlett is one of those people who knows what he's talking about. He's a man he's done so many things. His Glory is his organization. He had a call on the road to Damascus moment in his life, and he said, "Oh yeah, I think I might. Okay. I need to be on the right side of God," and so he changed his life. Welcome to the Adult in the Room podcast. How are you,
Victoria? Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
You have you wrote a piece for the Blaze recently about chatbot Jesus. Basically. Yep. And I'll show you if I can find it. I will show that thing right here. And here you are. Here's part of your column. You bring up such excellent points in this column and how people in the church believe what AI is telling them about the church, Christ, Jesus. Tell me what you're thinking.
Well, it really started with me. I attended the national religious broadcast in Dallas this last January, and I was just blown away that the AI was everywhere and that 40% of pastors throughout the United States of America are using AI to do their entire sermons. And then I was told about the next piece. Yeah, 40% are using AI. So they're completely taking the Holy Spirit out of the equation, their own love and relationship with Jesus Christ, and just letting AI tell their sermons to their congregation. And then when I saw this other piece, that's what prompted me to do the op-ed for the Blaze is, having a direct AI with a chat bot, Jesus, when you have the ability to go to Christ himself, is absolutely blasphemy. And the church is buying into this. I think you alluded to it just before I came on about this is part of the mark of the beast system in the end day. The beast is the genie's out of the bottle, but we as Christians cannot replace AI with the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit is our comforter, and that is where we get the wisdom and discernment from.
Yeah, well, I mean, and obviously AI can't put its arms around you and
Right.
take on your burdens and walk with you every day. And that's what these guys have tried to do. And it is shocking. And I was about ready to say that I was sitting in a Bible study and I looked up something on AI and it was just one word it was missing and it completely changed the meaning. I can't remember what specific example there was, but we do everything by Zoom, and because we've been going on for years before during COVID, and it was like, whoa! And I was like, that's why Christians need to be on AI so that they can teach AI the real information. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I agree. You mentioned or you showed your husband's Bible and all the different Bibles that you have. And I 100% agree. We need to keep those older versions of the Bible because not just AI, they're manipulating the publishing of these Bibles all over the country or all over the world. They're watering it down, changing words. I personally probably have about 20 Bibles in my house. And I like to have different types of Bibles,
right?
Because when I read it over and over again, if I see something out of context or see something that doesn't seem right, I go into the Strongs and find the original Greek word in the New Testament or the original Hebrew word in the Old Testament, and that will give you the meaning. And we can be manipulated so much, and that's exactly what the book of Revelation told us, that even the elect would be fooled if it were possible. And the elect are that know the word of God, the true, literal, infallible word of God.
That is frightening. It is really frightening. I mean, AI can be a lot of fun, but I cannot believe that pastors use it to help write their
40%.
sermons. That's just absurd. I mean, this is I've long contended after my initial fear was slightly quelled of AI that if people with solid knowledge don't force corrections on this machine learning, which is what this is, that we will not get any additional. We will not get truth from this from whoever's doing the machine learning for the artificial intelligence, and so I think we have to be a part of that, and I don't know who's not. I don't know who's pouring the Bible in there. Who's doing that? Is anyone doing that? Do you know of any organizations that are doing that?
No, I don't know where they're getting it from. I spoke to, actually had on His Glory TV network, a 4-star Christian general from Space Force. And we were talking, he's one of the most advanced technology with Space Force, 4-star general. And, the concern is, where do you draw the line with AI? And he made a great point to me publicly and privately. He said, it's only about the data that goes in. As long as it's good data going in, it's okay.
Oh, yeah. Exactly.
But if once the evil gets that data, they can manipulate you. That's just on anything. But if you're talking about the Word of God or the Holy Spirit, a relationship with the Lord, you never use AI as a direct relationship. Never, never, never. It should be used as a tool, and that tool needs to be double checked by the literal, infallible Word of God.
Yeah, yeah. This is New American Standard. We have one of our people in our Bible study who's always using the New King James Version, which is awesome. It's a much better. We're switching, but you got to have hard copy. You got to have a hard copy. One of my colleagues wrote a story. Colleague at PJ Media wrote a story about the Netflix situation where it's being bought, or Netflix is buying Disney or what have you. I can't remember who's taken over who, but his contention was, of course, they've been sanitizing all these movies for years, right? And so just showing certain things, like, for example, he gave an example of a French Connection scene from that 1970s film. And he talked about the fact that they left out a very gritty portion of it that would be offensive to people today. But he said, wait a second, this is a market tell. This is a clue Go get your own hard media in your hands. If you have movies or if you have any entertainment thing that you think is special or profound or something that adds to your life, get a copy of it, because they will be gone if it's just in streaming.
Yeah.
And I thought that's pretty interesting. And so it is. So it is with this. Beliefs.
It is.
Yeah, that's frightening. So what do you do at His Glory?
We are a 24/7 TV network that shows not only weekly services, Shabbat Shalom, and Bible studies, but we do interviews with America's top generals and doctors, you name it. We go into the 7 mountains and explain how Christ is the literal infallible word in every one of the 7 mountains. We do a daily war report that I do Monday through Friday, an hour, just looking at the world events and showing it through a biblical lens, because
Interesting.
we need to know what Christ in the Bible says for such a time as this. You said earlier, we're going into some really trials and tribulations. It's going to get worse before it gets better.
It's yeah,
the
this
only
is very
hope
dark.
is through Christ.
And if I was talking to Alex, who's our producer, and we were talking about it today because this whole Erica Kirk thing, Tyler Robinson. There's just it's a war over that organization, that Turning Point USA. It's a war over the information space there, and I just said I've never felt such incredible darkness as I have approaching this topic today, which we spent the first portion of the show on. And so I was just listening to the nuttiness and stuff. That must be like your day every day, huh?
Oh, it is. It's Satan. He's the author of chaos and darkness. And I personally have 2 good friends that are on the board of TP USA, and their hearts are broken. I knew Charlie. He's been on His Glory many times. A wonderful man of God. And what's happening to that organization is division. It's from evil. I don't know which direction it's going, but we do know it's not of God, and we got to stop it and put Christ first.
That's this Candace Owens thing that we thought that, she was friend of. And it turns out that now she's just trying to cause division. Yeah. And we were talking about on Tuesday's show about what Mr. Wonderful of Shark Tank calls the difference between the signal and the noise, and just continue to watch the signal instead of all the noise around it. And if you can do that 80% of the time, you will succeed. And the thing is that I almost didn't want to give Candace Owens any attention whatsoever, because that's the noise. But her signal is pretty clear. And the signal is she wants to cause division in Turning Point, and she wants to cause division in the conservative information space, of which Turning Point is a huge presence, actually.
Huge.
And so we know it's evil. We do. But where's this coming from? I mean, I know it's evil, but what's the outcomes expected to be here?
Well, Jesus said it best: if Satan's house is against itself, it shall fall. And that wasn't just Jesus saying a figure of speech. He's prophesizing that Satan in the end days will create division. He is the chaos. And when that division comes and Christ steps up, that house will fall, the house of Satan. And that's exactly what division does. We are not called to be divided. The church has been divided for way too long. Yep. We allowed these things to happen under our watch in the United States of America, and we need to put Christ back. And one thing that we experienced after this horrible, horrible demonic experience with taking Charlie Kirk's life, no matter what the theory is that you have, it did bring light. And Charlie, there will never be anybody replace Charlie. But now there can be millions of Charlies, and that's what it's all about. Millions servants
to
glorify the name.
But I will say also, and I predicted that too, and I wrote a story about it. I mean, you've just unleashed millions of Charlies. Thing is that they're not all there yet, right? And the other thing is that maybe not necessarily the most important thing, but politically the top of mind is that there was a turnout machine that he conducted on behalf of the GOP, and that assassination stopped that and stopped him. And I think that's demonic. And I always figured that not always, but I mean, I felt like he was destined to be a president of the United States.
Oh
I
yeah,
did.
the way he handled himself. Again, I've seen him many times in private at events and in our booths and on his glory, and he was the real deal. He kept his composure. He was always had a heart of Christ, and there will be never another one like him. His skill set of debating, I think, was more than just practicing and expertise. I believe it was anointed. How he could keep his composure at some of these people coming at him, and
Right.
always shared it with love. So that was really disheartening when we heard all these false stories about how decisive that Charlie was. That couldn't be further from the truth.
Yeah. And now we're going to be stuck with this forever. And he changed some lives. And my hairdresser said she became a Christian as a result of that. So I was like,
Oh, yeah.
okay. I mean, that's pretty cool. The other thing is that this Tyler Robinson guy, this is going to take us through just a hellacious period of time. I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but I mean, that is going to be very difficult. And I think that now that we have all this division and this other attempt to take over the narrative with hey, answer my questions and why isn't this available and who was working with him? Well, maybe he did it by himself. We don't know. That's what the running idea is in this case, as my belief is. So my question is, geez, now we have to go through the Tyler Robinson smirk fest in the courtroom in Provo, Utah. It's just disgusting.
Well, it's just a part of Satan's playbook, distraction. If he can't deceive you, he'll distract you. And while they're making you look over here, they're going to be going the other way. And it's all planned. It's all part of evil. The part of a conspiracy, like with what happened to Charlie Kirk, there's like 30 different theories. Yeah. And they do that on purpose. So they will throw you off the real trail and you're spinning around like a hamster in a wheel.
That's why they have to televise that trial, because they need everybody to see the evidence. They need everybody to see it. And people should read the charging documents when they materialize in the indictment and all the attendant documents and that sort of thing. So so that there's no room for a Candace Owens to come up alongside and go distract away from that. And I think that would be helpful. Knowledge is power. And a transparent policy with respect to that trial is the best choice as far as I'm concerned. And I hope that we get it. I haven't heard anything about it. So in fact, I don't know. I'm just sort of trying to get an update on what happened in court today. The last time I looked and was able to figure it out, he rules. Oh, here we go. Nick Sorter. God bless him. Utah judge rules cameras will be allowed in the courtroom.
That's good.
For the Charlie Kirk assassin, Tyler Robinson's trial, or alleged assassin. Good. Every American should be allowed to see every part of this trial. Amen. Right on. Well, what else do we need to know about this distraction from reality with this use of AI? Because, I mean, I suppose there's some stuff in AI that just sort of makes up stuff from the Bible, right? It calls it the Bible.
That's true. Again, it was whoever's putting that data in is the controlling of that AI. Soon, once it gets in the hands of what we see in the book of Revelation, the Antichrist, you're going to see that mark of the beast system. You saw a foreshadowing with that during COVID. If you don't take the jab, you're going to lose your job. You could be cut off. Passports, vaccine passports. You combine AI, and that's the last piece of that puzzle. And once the evil can control that AI, there we are. We're in the book of Revelation, and you can't put that back in the bottle.
It's kind of crazy. I mean, when you really think about it, people who use AI, they know how it works. I just wonder about, here's Silicon Valley leftists who wanted to censor everything about conservatives over the past 4 years and did do that. I now they're the people in charge of feeding AI. Come on. I mean, that's a losing proposition. Oh, yes. Well, we'll put the Satan's Bible in here and whatever. You know what I'm saying? It's just ridiculous. Well, listen, thank you so much, Dave Scarlett. Where can people get in touch with you and find out more about your ministry and what you're doing?
You can reach us at hisglory.me. That's our 24/7 news broadcast, all our Bible studies, world events, the Daily War Report. And then hisglory.tv is our movies, our documentaries. We did many on January 6th with actor Nick Searcy, Mickey Willis. We did Holy Land, and our music. So you can get us at those two places.
Oh, excellent. So you were helping out with the Nick's stuff, huh?
Yes.
He's been on a couple of times.
Yeah, he's a friend.
He's He's a terrific person. I really enjoy
He's
him.
the real deal.
He is the real deal. He really, really is. Okay, well, thank you so much. I appreciate you coming on and doing everything here to tell people to get their own book, man.
Amen.
Keep it around. You're going to need it because you're going to need to read it. Because AI is not working for you. In fact, in some cases, it's working against you. Thank you again. I appreciate
Victoria,
you.
thank you.
Thank you. God bless you. Thank you so much. Sorry I cut you off when you said that nice outro as well. Okay, well we're gonna skedaddle away. We've got a presents coming up in the next couple of weeks, but of course we are taking a few days off for Christmas as well. And so, what we'll provide you with content, and we'll provide you with some interesting takes on content we've already provided as well. It's going to be good, so don't look away. You'll get notifications as well. In fact, matter of fact, if you don't get notifications of the Adult in the Room podcast, please put the little bell, little ding-a-lingy-dingy on your YouTube. Make sure you do that, and you'll get some information about this upcoming program as well. As well as X, we got watchers on X, watchers on YouTube, Rumble. We have a live Rumble situation over there. Where else are we going? Oh, Spotify. We're starting to do more on Spotify. It is our home base, but we are always putting out content on all of the platforms, Apple, etc., that you know of already. Wherever you get your podcasts is where you can get this, The Adult in the Room. Please subscribe, share it with people. It doesn't cost anything, so. Right on. We're not asking for subscription fees. Maybe someday we will. Not right away, though. Okay? Anyway, have a blessed Christmas, folks. You do. And thank you so much for watching the Adult in the Room podcast. We don't take that for granted. You know what I'm saying? We do not take that for granted. We really appreciate you being there. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for watching and listening to this episode of the Adult in the Room podcast. We do not take you for granted. We appreciate every single person who tunes in every week to listen and watch this program. We're here every Tuesday and Thursday, live streaming on Rumble, and then on every other podcast platform shortly thereafter when we can port it over and get it over there as soon as we can. All the shows can be found at victoriataft.com, where the censorship regime has been banned by me. Follow me on social media at these names: Victoria Taft, the Adult in the Room podcast, and the Victoria Taft Show. Send media inquiries, or any others for that matter, to victoria@victoriataft.com. And here's a big ask. Would you please subscribe, share, like, comment, recommend, and give this program a 5-star rating where you can? We really appreciate it. We do not take that for granted either. Follow my work at, you guessed it, victoriataft.com. PJ Media, I write tons over there. Flamingo Audiobooks, and of course the radio. I don't do this alone. This show is produced and engineered by Overall Media. 1A Cast is responsible for some of the Adult in the Room podcast's imaging. Logo design by Hageman Creative. The Adult in the Room podcast is produced at Flamingo Road Studios. All rights reserved.